Okay. We lie. We lie. Is it
Perfect.
still on?
No,
Echo?
no more echo.
Okay, great.
Mm.
Uh, get you the link.
Tunatumia
I
link
believe.
hapo.
Uh, uh-huh. Yeah, just 1 second. I'm getting that for you right now.
Hapo hapo
Wait,
sawa.
two. Jesus.
Episode number what? Woo,
I think we are
78.
78. Tulikuwa
Hey,
78.
hey. Gentlemen,
Tuta
gentlemen,
hit 100. How many weekends do we need to hit 100
we need to
before the end of
we need to tone down on our seriousness. Punguza
we are too,
seriousness. It's not all that serious.
it's not always that serious. Eh?
Tumekuwa too serious bwana. I remember some
But
time
it
back, uh,
is yeah.
was a time some we were supervising a project, and my boss initially was very harsh on the contractor. Oh, you're too slow. What? So we did some things for kama 3 weeks. Kurudi, those guys had made so much progress. The boss had to turn around and say, "Hey, mmeenda mbio sana sasa. Hii try to tone down."
Sorry. Yeah. Sorry,
I'm
nilikuwa nimeenda
saying
uh-huh.
there's a time we were supervising a project, so my
Mm.
boss got uh, he really castigated the contractor, saying he was too slow. What? So we went away for kama 3 weeks. Kurudi, those guys, I
Mhm.
think they got angry and they pushed the thing so fast. Then the boss said, wait, mmeenda sana bwana. Now try to tone down. No. There's no toning down now. Foot down.
Sasa ni
Hmm?
full speed ahead. That's
Hmm.
interesting because there's a time that reminds me of a time I'd gone to visit a relative in the US.
Hmm.
Um, and I remember, I think I'd visited them, and then I think I went back almost after 2 or so years.
Hmm.
And I remember at the time, okay, so even at the time, they even had changed neighborhood.
Hmm.
But she was giving me of an example of a road that was being
Hmm.
constructed close to where she lives.
Hmm.
What probably from our perspective would call a highway, but they call it a
Hmm.
local road from their
Hmm.
perspective. She told me there was a first contractor who was penalized
Hmm.
because they were too slow, and the new one that was then awarded the job
Hmm.
finished it way ahead of time and even within budget. I think probably even might have been less than budget, so he got rewarded for that. So you see how you can use incentives to enforce a good thing and to punish the bad, which is what you're telling me. You guys were so efficient that you would have even finished the job way ahead of time, which should have been encouraged and even awarded or compensated in some form. Because this contractor, she was telling me, got compensated because he finished the project way ahead of time. You can literally be at a place in the US. 1 year, it's an open field. The next year, there's a whole population that lives there, and it feels like it's like it's been there before. There are all new roads, uh, shopping centers, housing has been done. It changes so fast. It changes so fast, particularly, I guess, some of these states where people are migrating into, where there are now more jobs, more companies. You see, the way you're seeing Elon Musk is now looking to make, Texas to be the headquarter. So, yeah. So, anyway, just to respond to just what you were saying.
Hmm. Karibu sana Luti family, the man on the boat. Very interesting life this gentleman lives.
Yeah, that's so true. That's so true.
Very interesting.
Is it true?
Interesting.
Is it true? As you were saying, the guy who has cut himself off the matrix. It
Yes,
takes a
yes.
lot of guts. It takes, a belief in yourself. You have
What
to
are
have
we?
a skill.
So nice.
Mm,
Can you
mm.
replicate? Can you replicate that with the motorhome?
I think you could. I actually watch a lot of those videos of,
Mm.
a couple or family that, travels across the world. And most of them, they do them across the US. But even there's one I've been watching of a couple that, has done trips to Europe. I think their most recent international trip was somewhere in Japan.
They loaded the vehicle on a ship or something.
No, no, they traveled by plane.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, uh, so they had already formed some networks on that side. So they bought a caravan,
No,
a
they bought
motorhome,
a motorhome there.
that other side. So yeah, so they didn't use the same motorhome that like the one
In
they were
Kenya,
using.
in
Actually,
Kenya,
what they were doing. Mhm.
in Kenya, it can work. Let's say if you say along the Mombasa to Busia highway, you could say 2 weeks in Mombasa, then you drive to Voi, 2 weeks in Voi, then from Voi you drive to Mtitwande, 2 weeks in Mtitwande. Uh, Nairobi, you'd wish to drive past Nairobi. I don't think you drive past Nairobi to say Limuru, 2 weeks in Limuru, then 2 weeks Kericho, then Kericho, Kisumu, then Busia and back.
It's possible. It's possible. What I realized, I mean, of course, maybe comparing Kenya and places like the US, Europe, or Japan, I think the only difference is these guys have created infrastructure for this.
Yeah,
In that,
caravan parks are there, nini kila kitu.
exactly,
Mm.
exactly, yeah. So you know where you can go with your car. When you get there, you have a place to plug it, get
Mm.
electricity, get water,
For, for,
dispose of any kind of waste that you've already accumulated on the road, all these kind of
for,
things.
for Kenya, I think you can arrange with the fuel stations, I think. Yeah, you could be parking at petrol stations. Yeah, so I think you can, but it's workable if you let's say you make an arrangement with one particular like Shell or Total, so that's where you'll be parking, sleeping,
And Kenya
and
is not
everything.
that expensive. I mean, it's very
Especially if
workable
you have,
because already
especially if you have
cars
a
already.
hybrid vehicle, especially if you have a hybrid vehicle, and remember you're not paying rent, so maybe it should be the foodstuffs purchase, but foodstuff you can purchase in bulk.
Exactly. When you
You
go
can
to
choose
a
bulk.
town,
Mm.
it's very
You,
doable. It's very
yeah,
doable, even
yes.
without car parks,
Yeah,
without those
you can
caravans.
make use of just identify one particular chain of fuel stations, especially fuel stations that have minimats. Yes, just park
Now,
there for.
almost, I think almost every fuel station
Mm,
should have a convenience store.
mm. Yeah, it is actually workable. The only now problem is that on the way now while you are driving, that motorhome is quite big. Now there are trucks which are driven in a funny way, add the buses. So the main challenge will be your safety conditions on the road, especially when you had a spate of so many accidents. That will be the main factor, but it's very workable. It's very, very workable
Yeah,
because if you
maybe a
say,
lot of it, night
yeah,
travel and stuff like that. They could avoid night travel. But yes, I mean, we know how our roads are. So
but
definitely anyone who.
then again, if you look at it, you are moving from, you are covering short distances every 2 weeks. You say Mombasa Voi, and you start your journey at say 7 a.m. You're only going to Voi, then Voi Mtitwandei. Then Mtitwandei, you maybe look for, if it is Nairobi, but Nairobi's, you can just drive past Nairobi to Limuru, get a station there, relax. Limuru, you push all the way to Nakuru, Nakuru to Kericho, Kericho Kisumu, Kisumu Busia. You get to Busia, since it's a rural area, you buy all the fresh stuff to be using to cooking along the way. Since it's a hybrid vehicle with that generates power, you don't need to buy gas. You have a cooker there. It's very, very workable, especially if you have a very good online gig. Ah, you can live the life, man. And you are like a perpetual tourist. No, the main issue is safety. Yes, you have to be crazy. You have to be crazy to put everything. Yes, yes, yes. This is a decision you make when umeamua sasa. Wewe na maisha ya kawaida. As I said, there's a price to pay for greatness. This you are literally plugged away from so many issues, but it comes with a price. So it is what it is.
No, that's true. I agree actually, because it's not the run of the mill kind of a person who would want to take that
Mm.
route. People like Lute family and all those that end up choosing that kind of a lifestyle. I've got some free loose screws in their head. It takes that. It takes that to decide. You're not gonna do the usual 9 to 5. You probably have another means of income sustain you. It teaches you self resilience, self dependency. But it's definitely a very vital skill. I think the people that take that when the apocalypse happens, they'll be the guys that will survive this world.
In fact, for if you are to use road, in fact,
Yes,
your toilet facilities should just be for emergency, because when you are at a petrol station, they have the facilities there.
100%.
So
Actually,
yeah.
they do most of them.
Mm.
Because I saw this one couple, just the whole process. Okay, the vehicles are built very well, but remember it's a very small space. So they have what they were calling like cassettes that you are able to, unplug from the vehicle and dispose. And many of these sort of caravan parks have got ways you can be able to dispose of that waste. But as you're saying, if you really organize yourself very well, you can know that in 2 to 3 hours you'll be making a stop at a certain spot, and from there, you can either take your long calls, and the internal one will only be for emergency.
Mm. And then Sheriff Mustafa
Maybe
Karibu Sana. And then you see what is funny is that you will do one trip, you maybe be doing one circuit to Busia, another circuit to Malaba and whatnot. Then after you've done 2 to 3 circuits, you find people contacting you that they want to join you. 2 or 3 caravans, 2 or 3 motorhomes. So within a short time, you have something like a fraternity, and the fraternity can be so huge that you may need to split the routes, because if you
Mhm.
are too many in a route, you create a convoy, which can be a bit disruptive
Actually,
to other traffic. So you may need to
did
set
you
up
see
a
there's a Kenyan convoy that left for, I think, for
for
SA,
uh,
for South Africa. So these things are doable. I
they
mean,
are
for them,
doable.
I'm sure they are not sleeping in the, because what they have is they have, okay, I think they are doing camping and possibly, sort of staying in hotels if they are in, like, if they happen to make a stop in like a big city somewhere.
Mm.
But there were this. It was a caravan of like four-wheelers. I think there were Land Rovers. I'll try and check them out. Maybe I'll share their handle. I saw them on Twitter. So they started off from Nairobi, I think going all the way to down south. I think there was even a guy who did that trip,
Mm.
a drive. I think he had a Subaru. Um, but yeah, these things are doable, man. And it's quite something to actually do this kind of a thing. I can imagine. And there's a guy I also see on moto. There's a guy who does this also on a motorbike, a Kenyan guy. I think he's been traveling in and out of Rwanda a lot. And I think he does because he's got all those little, the banners for cooking. He makes all those little stops. So he's got a camping gear. Sometimes they'll make arrangement and stay at a hotel. But it's both. So for them, they do camping, hotels, and any stop they'll make, and then they have got food that they have carried, that kind of a thing. Yeah. It's
Beautiful.
something. Actually, what I would want to do is do a motorcycle ride from here to Kenya.
I think you need what we call a cruiser. I think they are called cruisers. If I'm not sure, let me just
Mhm.
check.
Yeah, yeah, those kind of bikes.
Yeah, they are called. Let me see, cruiser motorcycle, cruiser bikes.
Like those Harleys. But I can get a good
No, no,
maybe
it's not a
250.
cruiser. I forget its name.
Uh,
Uh, Let me see. Just types of bikes, cycles. Let me see. It's not a cruiser. It's not a tourer. Yeah, they are called touring bike. Touring. Let me just confirm. Touring. Oops. Touring motorbike.
I,
Yes,
you know, I
they are called tourers. Let me just send you a picture on WhatsApp.
yeah,
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 this
send
is
me
a
one.
touring bike.
Telegram.
One when you are building a touring bike, the equipment used, especially the moving parts, have to be
Mhm,
extremely durable. For this bike that will be covering a very large chunk of the time, it will be in remote areas or areas that are
mhm.
far from facilities. So when you are building a touring bike, you need either the experience or maybe some guidance from someone who's familiar with the material requirements of a touring bike. Or whoever you're sourcing the materials from has you have to tell him that this is for a touring bike.
But don't you think the typical Kibo bike, a 250, a 300 can withstand at least the ride from Kigali to Nairobi?
I don't know. I really don't know because, funny enough, I've never seen. You see, you'd rather work with what you are familiar with. I've never encountered but the way visually it looks very rugged, looks very very rugged.
Mhm.
But
Yeah, it looks quite solid.
for such a trip, you need to work
Mhm.
with something that has been used over and over, and people who do that work are familiar. And I think you'd read. I think it would be good for if you are doing the first 3 or 4 trips, you have what you call a twin rider, someone also riding with you, so that
Mm.
maybe they can take you through the process in case of you want to repair this, you want to do some quick fixes. It could be good. Then after you've matured, you can now do your first solo. But a 250cc unit is powerful. But so far, what I've seen, there's one called I forget its name. They came in from you. There's somebody on Facebook who does them, and those are bikes of 900cc liquid cooled. Because if you are going such a long distance, you need something that has very good cooling efficiency. So most of them are
Mm.
normally liquid cooled with the high ground clearance. like what I've
Yes.
shown you, and of course the materials have to be the material used in putting the map has to be in a class of its own.
I saw
That's what
even a Nigerian, there's a Nigerian lady. Actually, she has a 250. What's the name of this brand? It's a
she's
250.
sort of a brown skin lady. I think I've seen something similar, but
I
they
don't know
normally
if
ride
she
in groups.
as brown skinned. But anyway, she I think she took the trip from Kenya to Nigeria.
They ride in a
And I think,
in a team, correct?
no, she was solo.
Or the one I know rides in a team, and in fact they were covering it. One of the bikes broke down. Then they had to put it on a pickup, and I don't know what something happened. So the machines you need have to be very hardy with a track record of doing such things.
Mm.
Hmm.
I think this keyboard can do Nairobi. Because I mean, again,
Is it
just
water
think
cooled or
about
air cooled?
I'll need to check. I mean, you're not gonna do like a continuous ride
Yeah,
all
because if
through.
you're stopping every 2 hours, why not?
Yeah.
If you're
Yeah.
stopping
If you're
every
doing,
2 hours.
I mean, just arrange where there's a major town,
Hmm.
and there are major towns at least within a 3 hour, uh, you know, time coverage.
Hmm.
Like from Kigali, you can decide you spend a night at Mbarara, then
Hmm.
from Mbarara, you check to Kampala, then from Kampala, you can stay at now, Busia or Kisumu, then from Kisumu, you can blast through to Nairobi. But again, actually, my plan is to do more of a leisurely kind of, could be a week long kind of a thing. Spend
You
like
don't
a
want to be
day.
cruising at 100 kilometers per hour.
Yeah,
You don't want to be cruising at 100 kilometers per hour.
I might be, but
Hmm.
the point is, I will not be. There are certain stops I want to be making, and many of them are like a distance of 3 hour apart, 3 to 4 hours. So
Nice, nice. Start working on it. Get into social media groups that have these people. They can give you advice. They can even get you a good quality. But I think you should start with just a brand new 250cc unit.
exactly.
And
No, it should definitely be
mm, mm, mm. Yeah,
brand new.
it's a wonderful achievement considering
I
that
think so.
our what we are planning to have as our second product is a hybrid hybrid motorbike. It actually
Mhm,
doesn't have a chain. It's simply a
mhm,
motor and an engine, and Eric is working on something fantastic that
mhm,
it will be appealing to people like you. So good things on the way. And concerning the bike, we managed to get someone who's familiar, who has more experience in braking systems. Bike was delivered today, so starting from next week, we would be having something with a foot brake. Then we crown it
mhm.
up with a casing, the casing that would make us stand out. So good things. This was a very the developments came, in fact, yesterday. When these developments came, we were able to get financing for that, and it was a very good end to the week. We were wondering how we were going to get to pull this off, but we did because I go to ride on just I normally use border borders when moving around Kitengela when I'm going there, and one thing the rider using a petrol pump say on the right hand is where they clutch.
Mhm.
So if you put a brake there, muscle memory issues could sort of, you know, mess him up. So let's put the right hand have the RDS, then foot brake on the floor, on the bottom, on the foot, then we'll be okay. So the
Yeah.
buzzword is Starlink. Starlink is the buzzword
Hey,
now.
what about it?
We are in the era of disruption, you know.
Hey,
Mm, the
Starlink
era.
has really come, really disrupt. the market. And I think probably Kenya must be the only market because they seem to be quite aggressive in Kenya. I think
Rwanda is
that
there. I've just seen a picture of this is Rwanda. Somebody in settings is it no news? Rwanda's deployment of Starlink in 50 schools has transformed. Yeah, it is in Rwanda too.
yes, it is.
They are targeting schools in remote regions.
Um, think about it. In Nairobi, you guys are able to get it from a grocery store. So if you want Starlink right now,
Hmm.
all you need is about 30 to 40 G, and you can walk out with the unit. Now, in Rwanda, currently, there is no authorized reseller. There are people
Just
that can be
individual purchases. Individual purchase.
individual purchasers. Of course, you can order it online and it will be shipped to you. It
Hmm.
is sort of approved to operate in this market. Um, so that's why you're seeing there's been application in schools, I think in some hospitals. Um, there are some projects that I know of actually that are looking to roll out Starlink in some of these primary healthcare units, sort of clinics. So yes, it's sort of adoption is growing here in Rwanda. But what I'm saying, that the reason why I indicated it's aggressive, I've not seen that aggressive push of Starlink here in Rwanda as it has been in Kenya. I think partly because it's disrupting one of the major players, i.e. Safaricom. And Safaricom has also been, the talk of town with regards to their poor service. Or I don't know if it's poor service or it's being
Some of
expensive.
their bundles keep disappearing for no reason. Then when you call customer care, they tell you that your phone was updating some softwares. So it's just update in a 1 GB. What sort of update are you talking? So
And why is
well,
it not happening? Why are the likes of Airtel not complaining of the same? Yeah,
the
Safaricom as always. There's
the,
something
the,
about how
issue-
they do it.
the excuse people give is that Safaricom internet tends to be very fast. So they are
It is.
using the kienyeji system ati internet ikienda mbio pia inakunywa bundles mbio. So which sounds a bit kienyeji. I don't think that is the kind of exploit. See, no matter how fast the internet is, if the application I'm using is of a certain stipulated number of MBs, like if I'm downloading a movie of 1 GB, no matter how fast the internet is, it's just 1 GB. Like you cannot say that mfereji yangu inamaliza maji kwa tank because the tap inafungua maji haraka and I'm only filling 1 cup. You know, physics watu wasome ile inaitwaje ile, there used to be a book in primary called Science and Agriculture where they used to capture some of these things when you are small. So vitu vingine some bit of reasoning kidogo, you just realize hii ni kuchezea, unachezewa tu. So that is Starlink is coming as a disruptor. People are saying, okay, the buzzword is we want to see how it performs during the months of heavy precipitation, rain and clouds. They want to see how it performs.
And that's a
How it
good test because I mean it's well known that satellite communication is impacted by weather.
mm,
And even where I work, we've thought of getting Starlink, but those are some of the issues we've had. I've used actually Starlink before. That's about a year or so ago,
mm,
but once. But I found it to fluctuate very much. 1 minute you're experiencing good speeds, the next minute they are quite very, very patchy. So I still feel that fiber is still king, if you ask me. I mean, Starlink says it's running on a new platform, satellite link that should give you fiber-like speeds. And yes, maybe that's something. But let's also remember that Starlink was ideally meant for sort of outposts, areas that are, remote, or for people that are on the road, the like of Loot, that are doing, that are living in water, or someone, caravaning, with a motorhome here and there. Because of course, if you're talking of GSM connection, it will probably be patchy at some locations, uh, particularly those locations that are not heavily populated. So I feel like, particularly as Kenyans, sometimes we tend to be very much receptive to anything foreign.
Especially,
And
okay, yes, we have a very good reception or aggressive pull towards things foreign, and also on matters technology, we tend to be we jump on it very quickly, but only in consumption. But on design and development, that's where we draw the line. But purchasing, mstari wa
great
mbele.
point.
Development, wacha tukutane nyuma ya tent kidogo, committee ikae chini. That's where we draw the line. But I think this is an opportunity for people. I don't know, we normally say wenye pesa hawana maarifa, wenye maarifa hawana pesa. This is an opportunity for people to invest in what you call say it's same as satellite internet, but you are using helium balloons, because
Yeah, yeah.
a helium balloon will go up to 32 kilometers in the air. Now you have, with a helium
2 kilometers,
balloon,
32,000,
no, 32 kilometers.
as in traveling. It will be traveling.
It
Is
will
it
float.
it will float around? Okay.
It will float in position. When you have a helium balloon, the highest it can go is 32 kilometers. Now, there's what we call system optimization. This is something, those are some of the things we discuss with Eric. Let me check how high.
Is that the same project that Google had? I think they used to call it Loop. The
Loon.
name of
Who they are called
Loon. There was
loons.
a project that Google had, and they abandoned it.
Now here we
Mm.
are we are looking at it this way. We're looking at it this way. When you launch a series of helium balloons in the air to cover as much part of the country as possible. Now, these helium balloons, one, you will fit them. You'll have a set of equipment whose mass is calculated the amount of helium you are putting in the balloons to enable it to float to optimum level. Now, what will be in the helium balloons? Will have a small set of lithium cells. You'll have solar panels. Then you'll have what you call propellers. Propellers will assist you to move the balloons laterally, so that when you'll be looking at coverage of the clouds, you can actually move your balloons in a certain condition. Because the problem with the satellites are always moving towards the earth very slowly, but they are always under very little gravity, so that they normally crash. But the balloon will float. You can move it laterally, and then if you have what you call a remote deflation device, in case there's a problem with the system, you can deflate the helium slowly, bring it back to earth,
Mhm.
do the repairs, inflate and send it back there.
Mm. Oh
So
wow,
it
that's
gives,
been. Mhm.
it's possible because you use what is remote deflation. Then the propellers will simply, the deflation is for downward movement, the propellers for lateral movement. You can actually program it to land in a particular point, do the repairs, and send the thing back in the air. And the fact that you can move it the way you want, kulingana na cloud cover, it makes far cheaper. The only difference is that you need more of them, because if you have to cover 47 counties, you need more. But I think it's far cheaper than sending a rocket to space. And in
Yeah.
case of any repairs, you don't need astronauts.
Mm.
You don't need to put an astronaut on a shuttle and blast him into space. You simply
Commission
retask it.
Space-
Huh? Hmm?
We don't need to commission SpaceX to send
Ah,
someone
why
to.
not committing? You simply bring it down. So these are things that the people who are holding billions in their accounts, these are the projects they should be embarking on. Because 32 kilometers is quite high, but it's not as high as a satellite. So you'll need more of them, but it will be far cheaper, far cheaper than, because imagine you want to do repairs. You're not going to put people in a spaceship and use a space shuttle and do what? You simply identify the one that is faulty. You begin what you call a remote and calculated deflation of the helium to bring it down, repair it, and send it back up again. It puts you at a very what do you call it? You become a sort of case study in what you call the internet balloons, because you'll now be doing it so well. It's a commercial entity, and apart from that, it can be a source of what you call you can be a surveillance contractor, because you can put cameras there. So I don't
I
know.
guess for weather.
You are
Can it be
breaking up.
used for weather?
Can it be?
Used for weather? For weather.
Yes, it can. Because you already have weather balloons. Because 32 kilometers, you're above the clouds.
Mm.
You can use it for determining, looking at issues to do with weather. You can use it for surveillance. You can even use it to track, because it has propellers and they are networked.
You see, these are the kind of ideas, because, okay, so this Starlink Safaricom issue, one emanated from what you are saying, Safaricom not being totally honest. And I think Airtel did a very interesting ad. I don't know if you have seen it.
Mm.
It's in I saw it on X.
Mm.
Using the green and the red colors to show Safaricom being the green, and how I think it was this guy who was the way you're in a bus, you've stopped over somewhere, you're buying something, and this guy sells you banana.
Mm.
So he tells you, okay, 10 bananas, I've given you 10, but by the side he's taking half of them. So when you realize, oh, you paid for 10, but you've gotten 5, that's kind of like the experience of Safaricom. Anyway,
The
I
bus is
digress.
gone.
Yes.
And then, funny enough,
So
Safaricom customer care, you need a certain hack to talk to the customer care agents. And it is somebody who just inform me how to do it. Otherwise, if you don't know this hack, you'll never get to talk to these people. In fact, I asked them, why are you using such a very underhand method? Why do you people have to use such underhand methods for us to access you? Then they said, oh, we are not aware. Oh, and they removed that part of the menu that said to talk to an agent. Aiko. So I put it on
yeah,
Twitter, and then somebody told me, no, you use another method. You act as though you want to make you want to reverse a transaction to a business, is when you can access them. So I asked them, mbona mmefanya hivi? Then the guy at the other end said, oh, I don't know, sijui nini nini. So I happen to have a relative also who works there, and she just gave me a series of sketchy answers. No wonder Starlink is running rings around. And I remember I was listening to this
it's something
business.
that has happened. I
This
tend to
guy,
relate it to the new CEO for some reason. I mean, I guess that's probably
that's
the
why
only point.
I
I
remember.
feel Safaricom has lost a lot of the goodwill it had, and it needs to really do something,
I
because
remember.
it's losing it day by day when we see this kind of conversations happening with Starlink. However, Starlink for me, I don't encourage it. People are taking it on, and Safaricom is going to lose part of its customers and its market share because of this kind of shenanigans. So they really
In
need
fact,
to.
if I'm to think very widely, uh, what do I call it? Starlink can actually, for areas in case of issues of cloud cover, they can introduce what you call, if I'm to think very loud and wild, a floating booster, a balloon that is floats around. Its job, in case there's too much precipitation, it will take the link from the satellite and sort of expand it or elevate it or something. The human being like Elon Musk, he does things out of the box. So a network of floating boosters will do the trick. It's not much of a big deal. The same way
They
those
do have.
guys who made the aeroplane, the Orville and Wilbur Wright, when they were trying to come up with that idea, they were learned and experienced scholars who put them off with publications that it is impossible for man to make an equipment to fly like a bird. They were declared mad. So when you allow your mind to just to fly, and okay, you must put some safeguards because the human being can come up with very weird things sometimes. So like there's this guy who is a very rich guy. He says that when he dies, his fluids should be sucked out, then he placed in a cryogenic chamber until scientists are able to resurrect people. No, such kind of madness is yapo, unafaa uweke breaks kidogo. You may come back as a zombie. You never know. So, but back again to Elon Musk and the way he does things, that the issue of precipitation or weather, he can sort it out. Yes, you need a think tank to sort it through. So it also needs some magic. That's why I said we are in the yes. You're
Think
saying?
about it. Think about where we started off from VSATs. Huh?
Hmm,
Improvement on the speed
hmm,
of the reason why they call now, because this is low orbit satellites
hmm, hmm,
that are going to provide what they are calling fiber like speeds. And it is, in actual sense, it is giving those high speed internet. But that was, if you think about it, not too long ago. This is, I mean, I remember when I started off my career when we were doing VSAT installations. Satellite was not known to be giving good internet speed, and it was then hugely expensive. So now the cost has gone down to a fraction of what it was. And of course, the technology has improved to now be able to compete with fiber optic. And now coming to what you're talking of, probably thinking of providing some kind of boosters as a way to counter
hmm,
effects of weather.
hmm,
They came up with something they call direct to cell in the US. So the idea being, so let's say we all use Safaricom or Safaricom Airtel, whatever it might be, which is through base stations. So they have these towers. That's how we connect to them and are able to get service. So let's say for some reason, God forbid, you have an earthquake, you have a tornado that, you know, kills these base stations. So that means people now don't have service on their phones. So the idea is, in the event of that event or of that, natural calamity, now you can then be directed to the satellite as your base station. So they have introduced that with Starlink, and I think they have rolled that out in parts of the US, um, and that is to provide that kind of coverage. So now, if Starlink is now providing sort of mobile service, if you think about it, it's gonna begin now
It's,
eating
it's going to
in
be a complete. Imagine now. Let's say
competitor. Yeah.
let's talk of. I want to gravitate towards my ideas. Let's say you have that balloon system. Then you pay. Okay, maybe it may not be as fast as Starlink, because like what I'm using right now, I'm using 8 Mbps, and I'm paying 2,620. Then we
80
introduce 8.0.
or 8 Mbps.
None.
Okay. Mhm.
So this, which I find to be quite decent. Now we set up the balloon thing, and I'm able to give you 15 Mbps at 500 shillings per month. How disruptive can that be? 500 shillings per month, 15 Mbps. Then we introduce another service whereby what you need to do, using some technical mambo jumbo, if you add 200 shillings, so it's 700 shillings per month, include calls to other phones which have that service, unlimited. So for 200, so for 700 shillings per month, you access the internet, then you can call people who have this service on their phone. 200 shillings only. That means Safaricom be left to M-Pesa.
Yeah, it's happening. I saw now they have come up with a. I saw they came up with a bundle where I think they're charging 2,000. They'll
Mm,
give you free WhatsApp. I think up to 17 GB of data,
mm.
X amount of hours for text and for rather for voice, and X amount of whatever text messages you can do. Seems like a good package, but I thought I saw that was kind of like a response to Starlink.
You see, when I think the what that is called knee-jerk reaction, or one as it a bit.
Immediate reactions, yes,
See, a knee-jerk reaction is rarely what you want to do.
exactly. The
It's not
Safaricom is
exactly.
no longer setting the pace.
Mm,
That's what I'm saying. They have lost a lot of that goodwill
mm.
capital that they had for so long. And then to add to it, Kenyans now don't trust one another at all. I was just seeing some guy on, I think he was doing a prank, or not kind of a prank, but kind of like one of these social experiments that they do in town. And he had a bag with new shoes. And he says, these shoes are size number 37. And he was asking people around, I've got new shoes, I'm ready to give it to you. But people didn't really trust. This was free in Nairobi. Zero people said no. And this is the
Now,
problem now government has. Think of all the issues we literally have lost. And this is a big, big problem. This is a big, big problem. And that's why, even all these things we are talking about, the Adani issues and all these issues that have come up, part of the problem is just a total lack of trust. There might be aspects of that government is championing that are for the good of the country. But because of that lack of trust that we now have, and it's not just to government, it's even now amongst ourselves. And
they
it's a
normally
big
say,
problem can
they
be
normally
done.
say, um,
Resuscitate that.
if you are seated among an individual na huyu jamaa anajulikana, yeye ndo anapenda kushuta kila mara. So whenever you feel a bad smell na hata is not the one, you say ni huyu. So the reputation is so dented and broken down.
It
Inaweza kuwa
is.
tu ni sewage imepasuka mahali tu, there's a sewage, ni huyu jamaa bwana. We nini bwana? So especially in leadership, the moment your reputation is tattered, stitching it
Yeah,
back together is next to impossible. It's
100%.
like even the most noble causes, they'll be like, wanataka kukula pesa tena. Oh, sijui nini. Even even the problem isn't goes to the individual. You have a member of the government who's sort of outstanding in doing things, and they ni group hiyo tu moja. So you can't even get things done there. And the government to be successful, at the end of the day, at bottom line, you need goodwill of the people. When that goodwill is gone, hata isound vipi, they will say these are scammers bwana. Like
Yeah,
whenever
it's gonna take
I
a
talk
lot
to
for them to reclaim it because
Mm.
they have lost it because of as you say, the reputation has not been good at all.
like people from a country that I don't want to mention, when you hear them talking, even if the guy has noble intention, you get that accent, pana bwana, tunawajua bwana. These people, we know them. So for purposes of
Uh,
political,
I think
professional
I know who
issues,
you're talking
I'm
about.
not going to
Yeah.
mention them. But you
Mm.
find someone has good intentions. He has done his groundwork, but because you hear that accent, no, 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 no. You people will know you very well. So that's the situation. But all in all, we are in the era of disruption. And right now, like in e-mobility, a company called Hyper have just made a breakthrough in building a vehicle a battery that can run for 1,000 kilometers.
Oh
Now
wow.
we are in 2024. That means probably in as soon as 2028 or even latest 2028, if people are running at extreme speed, 2026, things like charging stations will become obsolete because you are looking at a car battery that can go 10,000 kilometers. That means issues of replenishing is like service. You just keep driving. Then when you are like 1,000 kilometers, the way you go to check your brakes, whatnot, they charge it. And due to the development of the charging system at that time, you charge it from 2,000 to 10,000 kilometers in 15 minutes. That's where we are heading. That the disruption will be crazy.
Man,
Eh,
you know,
Sharif
we were
Sharif
just
Mustafa, I didn't. I don't know what Sharif Mustafa is talking about. He's saying things. Maybe we can talk on camera, but I have no clue. What do you know what Sharif is talking about? Me, I don't know.
Sheriff
I
is
I am
a man of
I'm
violence. I think we'll ignore him for that. We are
you.
peace loving people here, Sheriff. So we don't want to instigate violence.
With the battery systems, things like charging stations will be what do we call it? Obsolete. You just drive when your battery is low. The way you go to check your brakes and whatnot, they plug in for a couple of minutes. Your battery is back. The only issue now that may pop up is the aspect of geopolitics because the biggest producers are the Middle East. They happen to be consumers of high-end military and other products from Europe and America. They buy a lot of goods. I know an acquaintance who is employed by a truck company in Saudi. They buy their Mercedes straight from Stuttgart,
Mm. Mm.
and the vehicles are so high end and they are specific to Saudi temperatures. So the radiators look different, tires are built. So these are very expensive trucks, and the guy buys them in tens, like 50 or 60, uses them for 1 or 2 years, disposes them, buys another 60, 50, like that. Now, imagine such kind of a region, the economy collapsing due to development in but
In
that's where
electric.
the geopolitics comes in. There are people
You
who
know,
are
and you're raising that because I do feel actually maybe partly the technology is already there. Part of the reason why it's not been sort of now on mass consumption is because the oil companies are you've heard of the story like in America. One of the reasons why the rail sector has never grown in the US, it's because uh, you know the petro companies, the likes of what are they called, the big oil companies, are the ones that you know were resisting this kind of technological advancement. So it's there. And of course, many of them are in cahoots with government. So they fund some of these politicians. So they'll make
As in
sure to
the moment some,
legislation will not be there. They will not encourage companies of the
yeah,
sort to grow. So I can bet the technology is already there. It's just that, I mean, I even feel the likes of Apple to some degree, they just they're just managing our expectation. They don't want to release too much. I can bet they probably have a 5-year roadmap of amazing things they could do with these phones. But they give it on a sort of a piecemeal kind of a on a
yeah,
tuonjesho kama dawa. So every
maybe,
time when I release like it, and then they promote it so much, they make you think it's such a big thing, but it's not.
yeah. Is it because when especially you see these economies that run on oil, they don't have manufacturing industries of their own. They simply sell oil, then they buy a lot of stuff from other countries, and they buy high-end stuff. And as far as US is concerned, they are major consumers of military hardware, and they buy them in huge numbers. I remember Trump was showing a catalog to MBA Mohammed bin Salman. It was like, I don't know, you are showing a catalog of toys, and you buy this one, we give you this. It's
Yes,
like, ah, why ni
100%. It
toys?
is like that
No,
actually.
no, imagine such kind of
Budgets
republic.
and all these kind of things.
Huh?
Yeah.
So if imagine Saudi undergoing such a situation with the economy so that they cannot buy this stuff. So these are the geopolitical issues we are looking at. But then again, you can only hold out for a particular time. In Africa time, the people say, hapana, tumefika mwisho ndugu yangu. Because when you look at things like, when you look at stuff like series hybrid vehicles, when you discuss with Eric, they look so easy, they look so logical. But then again, the amount of money, the millions of dollars that have been spent on the automation and optimization of mechanical gearboxes, hii ikiwekwa hizo gearbox nani atanimia? Hii gearbox zingine zitaenda up because a lot of money has gone there because Mercedes have Intelligent, Scania have Opticruise, MAN have Tipmatic, what else? There's a lot of the Volvo have dual clutch, and these things have expended millions. In fact, the Volvo take a lot of pride in their transmission system. It's a dual clutch system whereby you have a clutch for the odd number gears and a clutch for the even number gears. So it's very smooth. Those things cost millions to research on. Then all of a sudden you say, now what you do, chukua hii engine, weka alternator, piga kwa mota pako magurudumu. Somebody say, hey, hapana. There's only one guy who has done it. It's called
Mhm.
Edison.
Mm.
It's a Canadian company. They are running them, but the what you call the legacy auto manufacturers, they have somehow tactically steered away from it. So it is what it is.
Wow. Amazing,
And
amazing to consider what. Yeah, as you say, this change. Part of it, I think, has to be faced because already the existing infrastructure and the people that are relying on that and the wealth they hold, the power they control, will hold it out for a while before they can release or allow it to, begin getting, being used en masse. So yeah, but yeah, it's interesting to just consider how that technology is changing. I mean, we saw the other day that you can now charge your car even on the road while it's
yeah,
moving, and
yes, on the
that's
move.
something we're gonna still look at. China, I've seen they have a faster way of doing, the battery charging, I think, or the battery swapping. There seems to be, you go through a bay, it's able to dispose the depleted battery and then onboard a new one,
They
and
are called Neo.
it's
That company
kind
is
of a
called
pro.
Neo. It's called
Yeah,
Neo.
so Neo, eh?
Mm.
Yeah, so definitely, because no one wants to sit somewhere just to charge their car for 30 to 30 minutes to an hour. It's a total waste of time.
Even even
Eh?
even 5 minutes of charging is too much.
It's too much, eh?
Five
I
minutes
mean, how
because
long does
compare
it
the
take
petrol car.
you to fuel up? It's like
5
a
minutes.
2-3 minute, very max. Maybe after the delay is usually with payment.
Yes.
Maybe kama anaenda kitafuta, oh, umetuma mpesa, acha tuangalie kama imefika. Oh, acha tulete POS ndio run card. You know, it's all that. But yeah, it definitely needs to be efficient. Bro, man, we've done what, a minute and 3 minutes? Or
1 hour, 1 hour, 20 seconds. Magical, magical. So gratitude to Sharif Mustafa and Lote family. Nasema asante sana. Unless maybe my co-host has something to add. Can I say adios from Athi River? Adios.
Adios from Kigali.